So, first guest, Chris Macke. He is a economic expert. I don't know if an economist or not. Sometimes people don't like to be called that, but welcome aboard, Chris.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be with you. Technically, I'm an investment strategist, but, economist is just fine. I take no offense.
It's like pinning fog. You never
It's
know.
great to be with you.
A whole bunch of titles, but eventually you'll get them. But good, Chris. Thanks for joining us. So a little bit, and one of the things that jumped out of the page on me is this thing called Solutionomics.com. Hopefully I said that right. And talk to me a little bit about that, a little bit about yourself, who you are, and your pedigree, and then tell me a little bit about economics or Solutionomics.
Sure. Well, you're saying that just right. It's Solutionomics. My pedigree is about, just an average citizen with about 25 years of experience in the finance, economic, investment, and political worlds. It's kind of a unique combination. And Solutionomics is about coming up with ROI-based or more business-based solutions for creating a more dynamic American economy. I just kind of looked around at what was going on with both political parties and some of the pundits on TV and realized that, there was a lot of vested interests that were promoting their interest, and there was a need for somebody to take a more objective ROI-based or kind of a business-based approach. Solutionomics is independent of political parties, not associated with the super PAC, and not associated with any lobbyists. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make things better.
So those two parties, the Libertarian Party and the Independent Party?
You got it. And that's actually all kidding aside. Part of the issue is that we have two dominant political parties that are taking advantage of the fact that they are dominant. They've got a duopoly, and that's a real problem. It's kind of like if you went to buy a car and you only had two choices, two manufacturers, you don't get the same results. You don't get the same product.
What were the aha moments that came out of your studies when you first started this stuff, when you started digging in deep? What were the things that just jumped at you that says, I don't know that many people know about this?
Well, I tell you what was the most exciting was that the amount of low-hanging fruit or the amount of opportunity. It's real easy to watch the news, whatever your favorite channel is, and really get demoralized and get kind of overwhelmed at how bad things can be and how much we're missing opportunity. And I flipped it around and said, wait a minute. There's a lot here that we are doing wrong, which gives us a lot of opportunity for improvement. The way I look at it is I look at the country as USA Inc. I look at it as a large business. And I took a look around and I said, there's a lot of simple things. Let me give you a concrete example. Tax reform. It's great that we engaged in tax reform. The problem is they completely missed the opportunity.
Okay.
They had an opportunity to make it a return-based or a performance-based corporate tax cuts for corporations, and they completely missed that, which is part of the reason why it's not performing the way that it could be. And so that was one of the aha moments, was lots of opportunity and lots of specific things that we can do to improve our economy and our political system.
Was it missed because it wasn't my idea type of scenario?
Well, I tell you what, it's very interesting. I spent a lot of time on the Hill, and it was missed because it was, and this was the part that was an aha moment for me, was the need for a change in mindset of those on Capitol Hill. They just couldn't get their arms around the idea of tying a policy to results. It was very much, well, but wait a minute, we don't really know how to score that. And my response was very simple. If a company creates a job, the tax rate goes down. If they increase their wages, their tax rate goes down. If they don't, then it doesn't. Right. That was an aha moment where there's a lot of opportunity.
What were the detractors or the critics saying that why that wouldn't work? Just because it wasn't one of those things that they could wrap their head around? Is that what it was?
Well, that was predominantly you kind of get these blank stares, like, wait a minute, return on investment, putting that in public policy. How do we do that? One of the
Business 101 meets politics.
Exactly. Exactly. I may actually borrow that. You just said that so well. That's what I've been trying to say is, look,
Yes.
guys, we can do better. Set aside left, set aside right, set aside all the political parties. Let's just give the American people what they finally deserve, which is a better return on their investment. One of the interesting objections that was an aha moment was they said, well, this is just going to create a lot of red tape. And I said to them, look, companies already know who they're hiring and firing, how much they're paying. They've already got this information. That's very simple. And by the way, companies do not have to share any of that, just like they don't have to share their expenses currently. And so if they don't want to participate and get the tax cuts, that's fine. But if they do, let's just get a performance-based system.
And one of the other things, I know we don't have very much time here today, but I did want to talk a little bit about you had some good salient points on bank stability. Some of the things about
Yes.
That I'd like to touch on.
Yeah, so the number one thing I'd want your listeners to understand is that when you're thinking about bank stability and regulation, the common argument against any regulation, and believe me, you can have over-regulation, but the middle is where you find the solutions. You don't want too much, you don't want too little. The purpose of the regulation is to actually increase the stability of the bank financing. The argument is always, well, we can't have any regulations because that's going to reduce the liquidity or the amount of loans. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to reduce the amount of bad loans. And when those bad loans get made, they don't get paid back, which means you end up in a situation where no loans are made. So good approach to regulation is when you have it increasing the stability or the consistency. And that's critical because then companies and consumers know, okay, the banking system's stable. I can continue to get loans, so I'm going to continue to invest.
And speed bumps in the way of that? What's in the way of making that happen?
Well, it's the biggest speed bump is that there are certain interests that they can make a lot of money in a 2-year boom cycle of making these loans that they shouldn't be making. Let's say subprime mortgage, and today it's subprime credit card loans and subprime student loans. And so they just want to be able to make as much money as they can in a short period of time, and after that, it really doesn't matter to them, so they've already made the money. So it's a misalignment of interests.
Yeah, so nobody's gone to jail for the last time, so hey, we'll go ahead and risk it again, huh?
That's right. You know what? I went to Vegas, I counted some cards, and nobody stopped me.
That's right. Hey, let's try the next one. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. It's and the other thing, too, Vince, this is all just common sense. And that's why I'm getting such a strong positive reception from both sides of the political aisle, is people are just looking at this, and the most common comment I get is, that's just common sense. Why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
And that's the exciting part about it. And that's why shows like yours, I appreciate being on so we can get the word out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like to, this is great stuff. Just absolutely great stuff. So, Chris, give us a little bit about your vitals, where we can get a hold of you and learn more about some of the work you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, you can follow us on Twitter at the handle @Solutionomics. That's @Solutionomics. And the website is solutionomics.org. That's a .org. And I'll just spell out Solutionomics. It's the word solution, SOLUTIONOMICS.
Perfect. Chris, thank you for a few minutes of your time today and updating us. Hopefully we'll have you back on soon. We got another page of stuff to talk about.
That'd be my pleasure. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
All right, Chris. Thanks. Going to take a break. This is Vince Rose sitting in for Michael Yorba on CEO Money. Right after this, we'll have Doug Casey on, talk about his economics and some of the things he's looking at. Be right back.